So anyway, laughter is what we're sharing this morning as a sense of joy here at the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. It's a pleasure to be together. Would you guys agree with that? Good. Well, I know that I'm happy to have you here, and I know that you're happy to be here. And we come together as a metaphysical, new thought, spiritual community every Sunday morning here. And we gather at 10 a.m. to celebrate all facets and all aspects of life. As a metaphysical new thought community, what that means is that we believe that there's one power in the universe, that no matter what you call it, it's all the same, and that we both express it and experience it through our thoughts, our beliefs, our actions, our reactions, and our interactions in life. If you're here for the first time, we welcome you, and you'll hear some languaging that you probably have never heard before, such as spiritual mind treatment. That is what we do as known as affirmative prayer, meaning that when we pray, we don't do so in a beseeching way or asking for something to be given to us just by some deity outside of ourselves. We declare and demand that the good of the universe that already exists in the universe is revealed through us, through an impersonal law of life, and as a result of our thinking, our beliefs, our actions, our reactions, and our interactions in life. To pull that all together, what that means is that we honor the oneness of all life. We welcome all races, all religions, all country of origins, all sexual orientations, all genders, all ethnicity, and all abilities. As a practitioner of the teaching of the science of mind, we look at that as a philosophy and a faith and a way of life and a modern day living, understanding the spiritual nature of the universe. And as our beloved Dr. David Walker used to say, as everyone walks through the doors, we welcome one and we welcome all. And so let's know that that's true for us today, whether we're here in person in the chairs, whether someone watching us online, let's say hello to those watching us online, or if they're watching it later, or if they're visiting us maybe from the other side. So speaking of the other side, it brings me both sadness and joy to share with you that our beloved Miriam Nelson has made her transition to the other side. So we have her photo up today in front of the flowers that I brought for her. If you can't, can you guys all see the photo? Okay, I was going to say you can pass it around if not. But Miriam was on the precipice of her 100th birthday, and I know that many of you here were excited to celebrate that time with her. And so this morning, as we celebrate her life, the passing on to the other side, let's acknowledge that where she's going isn't measured in numbers, and that she left an imprint on this life in really an amazing, wonderful way. I got a little emotional a moment ago looking back and seeing the walker back there, thinking, oh my God, she's shown up. Her walker's here, but she's here in non-physical form. So as we move into our ritual this morning, which continues to honor the oneness of all life, which is led by our practitioner of the day, which is Jody Carter. Let's listen to the qualities of the divine, not only as they exist within each and every one of us, but let's take a moment and honor those that existed fully and completely in this plane of action by means of Miriam Nelson, and as she moves on to the next dimension. This ritual that we perform every Sunday morning has both a practitioner taking us through that, as well as an illuminator. There's very few in the room that is more illuminating than the one and only Sherry Bazanis, who will be illuminating our candles for us this morning. She's certainly vibrant and bright. And our musicians will take us through the song that we do called Calling in the Light, which gives each of us the opportunity to not only hear those words in a new way, but to participate in a call and response. And in the end of that, Jody will take us through a brief spiritual mind treatment. So I welcome to the Bema Jody Carter.
all people and all faith, all sentient beings, coming from the one all-abiding presence, which we call Spirit. We call into our awareness, our awareness of this oneness, and well, I'll wait till that. The qualities we possess as complete expressions of the divine. And the first candle shared light is for the quality of peace. In this way, we honor our inherent divine state of inner calm, regardless of any seeming chaos unfolding around us or within us. The second candle she lights is illuminated for the quality of power. The power we acknowledge as the energy by which everything exists. We light the third candle for the quality of beauty. It's a personal expression by which high spiritual qualities are made manifest. We light the fourth candle for the quality of joy, that state of being that is excited by the expectancy and the experience of good. We light the fifth candle for light, the symbol of divine intelligence within us and around us. The sixth candle is lit for all life, that which is defined as the animating principle of being, that inner something that makes everything live. We light the seventh candle for the quality of love, defined as the self-givingness of spirit, the desire of life to express itself by giving of itself. Light the eighth candle for the quality of wisdom. The concept of unity is the mystical secret of the ages and the key to wisdom. The final candle that we light is known as the healing candle. And we ask that you take a moment and think of someone you would silently like to put into the light of the healing flame. Miriam, or anyone in your own life, in addition to who is in need of healing, to experience the eternal and everlasting love of the divine. And as we do address these wonderful qualities of the divine, of love, of the God, the divine spirit that inhabits all of us, I do always like to, for myself and for everyone here, invite everyone to take a deep breath and remind ourselves that this is a constant reminder of our oneness with God. The breath of life is the miracle that we perform moment by moment, day by day, and it reminds us constantly of that very fact that we are one with the divine and able to manifest in our lives the wisdom, the power, the joy, all of the qualities of good, the qualities of wholeness, and the manifestations of goodness and love in our life for ourselves, our families, our country. We pray for the church and this country and all of the power of love to bring divine wholeness to our lives at every moment, for everyone here, everyone watching online, everyone we touch in our daily life. We do know this, we are grateful for this, and we say together, and so it is.
Good. Good. Thank you, Jody. Thank you, Sherry. And thank you, boys. We had a boy-filled calling in the light. It was beautiful. Right? Quite wonderful. Glad to have you here, Doron. It's tell me how to pronounce your first name correctly. Doron and Yoron. Right? I love it. The Israeli twins on the Bima. That could be a show on the road. The Israeli twins on the Bima. Right? So. Well, James Harper, we always love having you here. What a pleasure. Such a talented young man, and can never be too much having you here, and I love having you here. So you'll hear the story of how the song you're about to hear came to be for this morning. Good morning, ladies. About to hear that he's going to sing for us, and you'll know it when you hear it that it's one of my favorites. James Harper.
Sing along. If you feel inclined, sing along. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. The hour I first believed, my chains are gone, I've been set free. My God, my Savior has risen, in line with the light, His mercy, unending love, amazing grace. When we've been here 10,000 years, bright shining as in the sun. We know rise, and when we fall, can we all sing Amazing Grace once more? Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. That's it. That saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Was blind, but now I see. Sound amazing, church.
James Harper. James Harper, you're a manifestation of grace, dude. Just know that. So if you're new to our philosophy and our teaching, or if you've been around here for a while, I'm sure it works on your nerves to sing a lyric that saved a wretch like me, right? You're like, what the hell? I don't need saving. But maybe I do. No. But it's important to understand the lyric itself. And in our philosophy and our teaching, looking as a metaphysical teaching, looking at that lyric, it's not about asking for redemption or being saved from some outside deity. It's about calling forth from the depths of your soul that power that exists within you already, to rise up and make itself known through you, and through that, when you align yourself with that which it is, which you are, which is peace, power, beauty, joy, light, life, love, and wisdom, then the saving takes place by diminishing your consciousness or your thoughts or beliefs of anything that is contrary to that which you are. Now, that can only take place when you become consciously awake and alert and aware to its reality within you and your ability to tap into it. To not tap into it as by trying to make it manifest through you, but tapping into it and bringing up, letting it reveal itself as you, through you. We're in the second week of August, and as for those of you that were here last week or are following us online, I declared the theme for us for the month of August as desire. So how many throughout the week has had some desires that have come up in your life and you fulfilled them? Well, hallelujah! You've done that because what that means is you're tapping into that which I was just speaking about. That you're looking at desire not from a place that ego is driving you for that, unless your desires that you've tapped into are egoic, and you'll know that at some point. I'm not judging, you know the difference. But if you're tapping into that place of your divinity, allowing it to rise up and make itself known through you, then it'll happen what appears to be in a more instantaneous or quicker way. That is because there is no disorder or discord or dis-ease, as I spoke of last week. And so this month is really all about fulfilling life's desires. And so I want to remind you what I spoke of a bit last week to set the template for both what I'm speaking about today and why the song that was just sung to you is so perfect. Desire, we started looking at it last week, and I started off with the definition of desire as a noun. And this is the definition: a strong feeling or wanting to have something or wishing for something to happen. Was that the case for any of you in that fulfillment this past week? Well, if that's the case, we're going to work on moving beyond the wishing and a wanting and the wanting and a wishing into knowing. That's what we're going to do. Then using desire as a verb. In other words, as an action step. It's not just wanting it to happen, it's moving into life as a fulfilled, desired being made manifest. It's owning it, which we teach in this teaching all the time, as if it's fulfilled already, and you're not walking into the creation of it, you're walking in and embracing that which already is. So looking at desire as a verb, then as a strong wish or want for something, but moving beyond that, which I told you my favorite words of this definition is that which you're yearning for, that which you're craving, and I'm sure you all remember my favorite one from last Sunday, that which you're hankering for. So, do you remember what it is that you're hankering for in your life? Well, some things that I'm hankering for is greater love. I'm hankering for greater peace. Now, as you heard me just in that moment, you felt the quiver in my voice because that's the emotion of my being tapping into my divinity when I said I'm hankering for more love. Not just in the human sense. The human sense is always wonderful, but more of that which is the divine sense, using the acronym that I shared with you 2 weeks ago for love. Love being life's one vital energy. So when we live life from that place of expressing the one vital energy, it's that which is known as source. It's what Ernest Holmes calls the thing itself. It's what the Buddha refers to as it, the thing itself. It's what we know as the infinite power of life that exists within us. Ernest Holmes talks about this from the concept of the metaphysical definition of desire, which is this: half-hearted wishing, which is really any kind of wishing, must not be confused with desire. Our wishing, he goes on to write, is always capricious. We long for one thing. Today and tomorrow, our attention is directed elsewhere. Desire is that something which impels us to reach out and take our own. Desire is that thing within us, that something within us, which impels us to reach out and to take our own. Now, he's not saying, as I said last week, he's not talking about reaching out and taking our own. He's talking about reaching out, declaring that which is and letting it rise up and express itself through us. We have dancers in the room. It's when you turn over your ego and wanting to dance and then letting that thing within you out, right? And is that correct, dancers? They are going to say, I guess. Okay, so I'm partially right, partially wrong, but I'm going to say I'm all the way right in this moment. So, but whatever it's dancing or singing or speaking or loving or just simply being, it's allowing that which is within us to rise up and make itself known us. That's the divine urge. It's that which I tapped into with the emotion that came up a moment ago. Ernest goes on to say that this is the divine urge which, operating as law, produces energy, and energy must find an outlet. This is why suppressed desire often produces discord, discomfort, or disease, I added. Desire for anything is the thing itself in its incipiency. What he's saying is that once we tap into that which already is within us, claiming it as desire, is the thing itself beginning to make itself known to us and through us. This means, he says then, that legitimate desire is the voice of spirit in you, trying to indicate that the thing that you desire is already on its way to you. In other words, we align ourselves with that which is true to our nature, the energy that we feel around that when we declare that is it's saying, yes, this is in alignment with your spiritual nature, so therefore it must come true through you. So this morning I'm here to talk about how do we make that happen? Well, we don't make it happen. What we do is we allow it to happen. But we do play a vital role in allowing that to happen. It's manifesting that which we desire to have in our life as fulfilled desires. Deepak Chopra says that the process in which this happened is called the matrix of manifestation. The matrix of manifestation, he says there's 3 pieces or 3 roles to that. Now, a couple of them are going to sound familiar to you, and it's this. The first one is to tap into the manifestation through the matrix of manifestation, step one is to go to the infinite reservoir of potentiality and infinite awareness. He says that's done in meditation. We know that that's one way to do that. So I ask you this morning, where else have you heard the concept of going to the infinite reservoir of potentiality and infinite awareness? Well, in spiritual mind treatment, that is step one. It's knowing that there's only one thing ever taking place. It is that infinite reservoir of potentiality and infinite awareness. In the science of mind, we just says that all that there is God. He's taking that deeper. He's saying, yes, all that there is in God, but that is also known as a reservoir, which is infinite by nature, and its components are potentiality and awareness. And for you and I to tap into that potentiality, turning it from potential into reality, in other words, moving it through manifestation into fruition, what is required of us is to tap into the infinite awareness that I am, that I am, that I am, that I am, that I know, that I know, that I know, that I know, that I am, that I am, that I am, that I am. And it's from there it rises up to us and makes itself known through us in the human level of life. And he says, then the second piece of that is to go and focus your attention on one point. Well, what's the one point we can focus on? The I am, that I am, that I am. In spiritual mind treatment, that's where we declare God is all there is, and I am one with that which is. It's all languaging. It's the same. It's what you do with that languaging that matters. It's the same thing if you freak out when you say, it saved a wretch like me, as opposed to thinking those are just words. So have I ever been a wretch? Yeah. Have I ever need saving? Yeah, I have, right? But not in the context of some religious approach. Wretch meaning I had horrific behavior. Needing saving means that I wasn't using my consciousness in a way that was bringing forth my divinity that then showed up in my humanity. I was using my divinity in a way that showed up in my humanity that looked like the opposite of that. In other words, I was being a hellion and not in a good way. What we know as awakened beings of this teaching is that we have the ability to shift our consciousness, ultimately shifting that which we bring forth into the world of effect, and in so doing, have a better life for ourselves, i.e. use the matrix of manifestation to our benefit. The third leg of this tripod is called flexible consciousness. Deepak is telling us not only do we need to just go to that infinite reservoir of potentiality and infinite awareness, but not only to just focus our attention on the one point, the point in which our consciousness is the revealing point in which the divine expresses it through ourselves, but in so doing, we must have flexible consciousness. What this means is this element allows us to receive with an open mind the result that the universe sends us. Now, how many of us have put some demand on the universe of what we want to have made manifest in our life, stood there with open arms, with an open mind, and it showed up, and we're like, but that's not what I wanted. Anybody? That was my reality from about 8:07 this morning till about 9:15, quite frankly. And yet, I kept telling myself I'm speaking about the matrix of manifestation. And so the matrix of manifestation is manifesting itself through me. So how do I want to show up and experience that? Do I have a flexible consciousness in this moment? And I would say 86.7% of the time I did. And the other time that I didn't, I worked on getting over myself. Because I just read all of this. I'd written all of this over the last few days. I've been studying on this. And yet, being human, we all have the potentiality to get in our own way. Would you guys agree with that? That's right. However, it's important for us to know that we know our mind. And as we know our mind, when we see ourselves getting in our own way, is the opportunity to get over that and align ourselves right back with step one, step two of both the matrix of manifestation and spiritual mind treatment, which is knowing that there is an infinite reservoir of potentiality there for me as me, and I get to experience that to the highest degree possible possible when I tap my awareness into an alignment of the awareness of the infinite. But that can only happen when I filter the I am that I am that I am through the me that is the I am that I am with an open mind and with an open consciousness, meaning that the law is bringing back to me a reflection, as Deepak told us last week, of my whole consciousness. And there's no way for us to know what's in that entire infinite reservoir, but yet we get to impact that through our thoughts and our beliefs. He goes on to write about the flexible consciousness that we are to be receptive to what the universe brings us. And to do that, we need to have an open, fluid, and infinitely adaptable awareness. This flexibility of awareness is the third component of the art of desiring. That's what he says we are doing when we're using the matrix of manifestation. He says having fluid awareness means that attention does not get stuck on preconceptions about how the desire is supposed to manifest. How often do we get caught up in that concept of we get clear that we have a desire. We get clear that we know that there's only one power. We are clear that we're the point by which that power manifests itself. And then yet all of a sudden we have a list of 32 items that it needs to meet. And what we're being told here is that that's probably 34 too many. That really what we're to do is to say, I am developing the consciousness of the divine. That my vibrational frequency is in alignment with that which is of the highest possible. And so that which I'm drawing into my world is a reflection of that. And if that which is showing up isn't in alignment with what I thought my consciousness was, my thoughts, my beings, that state of awareness in step 1 and step 2, don't then try to outline it again to make it happen. Go back to step 1 and step 2 and keep tapping back into my development of my mind, of knowing that I am peace, that I'm power, that I'm beauty, that I'm joy, that I'm life, that I'm love, and I'm wisdom. And from there, the consciousness shifts. And in so doing, that law, which is not flexible, it's not impersonal, will continue to bring forth to us an experience that is reflective of an evolving consciousness. And in so doing, that which shows up will begin to look different. And even if it does, we begin to look at it with a different set of eyes that is reflecting a consciousness that is expanding and evolving. Well, that's a big job, don't you think? That's a big job, and yet, it's waiting for us. It's waiting for us to step into it every single day, every single moment, every single breath, to align ourselves with more of that which it is ultimately bringing forth to us experiences in life that is reflective of it. What I'm talking about is the spirit of our desires. And it's important for us to know that we were destined to have our desires fulfilled. And it's important to know that that can only happen once we awake to life's one vital energy in a new way. And one of the ways that I think it's important for us to look at that is to be open to the way that the divine brings forth that into our life that is required to be looked at with a flexible consciousness. And the easiest way that I can instruct you and myself to do that is to open ourselves up to the amazing grace that was spoken to earlier. To not look at that as some mystical, magical power outside of us that's bringing forth an experience that is going to save us from some evil thing. But look at it as an opportunity of the power that exists by means of you and by me that's always working, that's already bringing forth through us that which we can choose to look at as miraculous and even mystical, but not necessarily magical. We call it divine grace. Well, what is divine grace? Well, traditionally, it's a theological term present in many religions. It's been defined as the divine influence which operates in humans to regenerate and sanctify, to inspire virtuous impulses, and to impart strength to endure trial and resist temptation, and as an individual virtue of excellence of divine origin. How many of you got sick a little bit in your mouth when you heard that? Because it's so religious, right? Well, listen to it not from a religious perspective, but from the perspective of it is the action of that which you are readying itself to make more of itself through you. Divine grace is a term that is present in many who are conscious of their spiritual nature. I'm editing it, obviously. It has been defined as the divine influence which operates in you and in me to regenerate and to sanctify, to inspire within us virtuous impulses and act on those impulses as they show up, and then to impart strength to us, so that we endure both trial and resist temptation that's contrary to its divine nature. And then as an individual virtue of excellence of divine origin, which is just telling us that we need to know that we are that which it is. Divine grace. The question was asked of Nayaswami Pranaba regarding divine grace this: what exactly does divine grace or God's grace mean? What are its spiritual components, and shall it be understood as an ever-flowing energy that one needs to learn to receive, or perhaps to vibrate at the same wavelength as it itself? And here's how he responded to the person that asked the question, named Oscar. Dear Oscar, divine grace is God's power and presence. Now, you may not like the word God, so insert it however you want. Okay, let's call it Peter at the moment. Divine grace is Peter's power and presence. One way of understanding grace in our own lives is the presence of Peter, or the thing itself, in different aspects. These aspects are peace, calmness, love, bliss, light, sound, energy, and wisdom. Just take a moment and think of how those show up in your life, how peace shows up in your life, how calmness shows up in your life, how love shows up in your life, and bliss and light and sound and energy and wisdom. We're being told there that yes, grace can be understood and experienced, as you suggest, as an ever-flowing energy that one needs to learn or receive. And that's a very good description. He goes on to say here that there's a beautiful quote from Paramahansa Yogananda of the book, The Essence of Self-Realization. God's grace, or Peter's grace, or the thing itself, its grace, flows into us. And the more we open ourselves to it, it doesn't come to us from the outside. It is the operation from within of our own higher reality. Grace comes the more we live in soul consciousness, and the less we live centered in the ego. The more we live in soul consciousness, meaning awareness of the oneness, awareness of the interconnectedness of all that is. More that we live in the understanding of not only the I am that I am that I am, but that you are the I am that I am that I am, and I am the you are that I am that I am. In other words, we are interconnected in a place that is beyond the cerebral, which lets us know that this beloved individual who has now transitioned to the next stage of life is still here with us. In our mind, in our heart, in our soul, in our being. Is she here physically? No, unless she makes herself known physically. But what it's telling us there is that the more that we live from this awakened awareness and accepting that that is our spiritual truth, then we shift the vibrations of who we are, letting go of our ego, not even let it drive us, and in so doing, the experiences that show up in our life are reflective of that which it is, which appears in a way that we term in the English language as grace. And it indeed is amazing. Would you not say? It's amazing. Pope Francis says grace, it's not knowledge or reason, but rather it's the amount of light that we let into our souls. We just sang a song that is sung every Sunday morning and has been here for CSL. I just stepped on my shoelace. At CSL for a while, called Calling in the Light. And I think if we went through life and let that be our primary spiritual practice, it's enough. Because as we call it in, it must be awakened within us. But the second piece to that practice, I didn't say it was just a one-piece practice, is to then shine that light. It's to shine it out. To shine it not only just for ourselves, but for others. Because we know, as we've heard before from the Nelson Mandela quote that was actually a Marianne Williamson, the more that we shine our light, the more permission that we give for others to shine theirs. And that's not just a concept, it's a spiritual truth. Why? Because we live in a world that is governed by spiritual laws, and we know that we're all energy, and energy begets energy, and as energy begets energy, and it's brought forth by the spiritual law, which is the law of life, must bring forth more of that which it is, and attracts back to it more of that which is being put out, then indeed as I shine my light, you shine yours. And then being in alignment with that, as grace, I open myself up for more of that. Knowing that as I open myself up more of that, which I spoke about last week, it must become multiplied. So as I put it back out, the light gets brighter and brighter, to which I get to receive brighter and brighter light, so that I then in turn have the opportunity to share it more and more and more and more. Fulfilling your life's desire through grace is what I'm instructing us to do today, inviting us to do today, encouraging us to do today. And the journey of grace, as Deepak Chopra says, is one that is fascinating and profound. It's a journey that brings all qualities associated with grace over the centuries into your life today. What he's saying is the minute that we open ourselves up to grace, understanding it's that place where the divine and the human come together and a spark takes place, then there's a shift in our mindset if we open ourselves up to that, to see all of life differently. And if we do that as an illumined being, we're not just seeing it, but we're shining our light on it as we're seeing it, and in so doing, making a difference not only in our life, but all of life itself. Deepak goes on to write that religions define grace as an expression of divine love, but the word has many personal meanings outside of religion. Grace can be about how you carry yourself with inner dignity and an air of beauty. It can be about bestowing a gift or a favor. There is grace when you forgive someone or show mercy. These are beautiful expressions, but how do we achieve them? We achieve them the same way that we achieve the fulfillment of our desires. And that is to not look at grace as a noun, but to look at it as a verb. To live in the action of that spark of the divine that meets the human and the human meets the divine. We all have felt it before, correct? We've all felt it. We know that feeling of when that spark happens, that we know that that which is deep within us is also meeting our human brain. And there's a shift that takes place when it happens. But then we get freaked out and we think, what the hell was that? Right? Thinking that that's some mystical, magical thing that only happens occasionally. And yet what we know in this teaching is that that is our nature. Anything contrary to that is not our nature. That is our human ego getting in the way, saying, I am not worthy of the divine fulfillment of the divine within me always. And that I don't have the capacity within me to live a life of grace. And yet what we're being told by all the wisdoms of the teachers over the years and the religions of the philosophy is saying, yes, you do. You do have it. And the only way to begin stepping into a more life filled with grace is by stepping in and beginning. By stepping in and starting anew. I so want to take my shoe off right now, but I'm not. Sometimes I'm trusting that the grace will not allow me to fall. Sometimes in life, starting something anew may not feel so good. But we know deep within us that it's worth it. One of my beloved friends encouraged me on Friday to take a CrossFit class with her. And I said yes. My ego said, screw that, right? My body said yes. My mind said yes. My soul said yes. My ego kept saying, you don't have to do this. It's Friday afternoon, it's 5 o'clock, you can have a cocktail with your neighbors. It's 182 degrees outside. Go take it, right? And so I did. And I love this woman very much. And so I said yes. And I know everything I've done with her in my life has brought me joy. Why would she take me somewhere that would bring me something contrary to joy? So I took the class and I showed up and I did it and I worked hard. I also had to go to the bathroom and throw up in the middle of it, right? That's also grace, right? The point I'm making, which I know is kind of a disgusting analogy here for you, is that the opportunity to experience the divine doesn't show up in a pretty little package always. Spiritual growth is much like physical growth. It requires us to show up and have faith that the law of life is always bringing forth through us that which is a reflection of the consciousness that we have. And if we don't like what's showing up, then we get to change our consciousness. We get to choose in this very moment whether our desires are worthy of being fulfilled or not, and what mindset we want to bring to those when we engage them. Is it fear or doubt or unworthiness? Or is it, yes, I'm worthy. Yes, I want transformation. Yes, I have faith. Yes, I believe this. Yes, I know that the power has never failed me. And yes, the law of life is always working. Therefore, what I'm stepping into in this very moment must be good. Good as a synonym for God. And what I know for you and I know for me is that our life has proven to us that that is the truth, no matter how our ego gets in the way. And so today I invite you and I encourage you to release your ego and let it go as if you're letting a balloon fly out into the sky, one that's not plastic, because we're not using plastic at the moment, so let's believe it's a cotton balloon that disintegrates when it hits the sky. But as you release that, trust that what you're opening yourself up is to the amazing nature of grace, that place within you that is the divine, that is ready, as Dr. David Walker used to say, smiling, waiting and smiling repose. Let's bring it forth where it's not just a smile. Let's let it smile and we wink at it and it winks back. And when it winks back, we ask it out on a date. And what's the date? Of engaging it in a lot of good in our life. Engaging it in having a life that is more fruitful than before, meaning that what we experience is more and more and more and more and more and more and more of that which we desire. And that which you desire is worthy of fulfillment. And so today I encourage you to live life with more beauty, with more love, with more peace, with more power, with more grace as a verb, with desire as a verb, and one where you know when you lay your head down to go to sleep at night that you've done your absolute best in bringing forth the biggest light that's within you to be shined and shown down into the world, because your light is one I want to see. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You ready for some more music? Come on, gentlemen. You guys were just back there mesmerized, weren't you? So what song are you singing for us now?
This is an original.
Okay.
Actually, Doral wrote the music for it. It talks about freedom and how we want to be free.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
l'ami Laurent Stewart and James. Thank you, gentlemen. Now it's time for our conscious financial giving. If you'll notice in your seat, there's a little one of 3 handouts. And so it was an opportunity you could use to write it, put notes on, or just take it for conscious giving. This is a beloved spiritual community that both thrives and grows and exists based on your conscious giving of your good and understanding your abundance of the universe. And so your options for giving are cash, check, credit card. If you'd like to use a credit card, you can do so with Sherry is in the back today on the welcome table. She's right here now, but she'll go back there and meet you. She or Reverend Lenore is back there, I believe, is correct. I'm sorry, I had that wrong. Or you can give on our website, which is csl-la.org. Click on donate, or through the app in the App Store. So if you will take that which you're giving, place it close to your heart. I'm putting my mobile device there because I use the app. And close your eyes, please. And just visualize that which you're giving, and visualize it multiplying itself. I invite you to envision that being touched by the spark of grace, making a difference on this planet. And repeat after me, please. I consciously choose to give.
I consciously choose to give.
I give easily and joyfully. I know God, or whatever word works for me, is my source. And abundance is my nature. I let it be. And so it is. Gentlemen. So I'll give you some announcements. So you'll also notice that in your seat there are a couple of handouts in addition to the one for giving. It's on the ripple effect. And so there is a screening here this Wednesday night at 7:15 of this documentary. It's a short documentary called The Ripple Effect, which examines the struggle to keep arts alive for inner city children and reveals the power of arts education to educate the heart and impact schools and communities and the lives of those living in poverty. It's through the organization Dream a World, which is led by by Bunny Hall. Dr. Sheila Hughes, who is here, is on the board of Dream a World. Many of you know Bunny, and we would greatly appreciate your coming here on Wednesday night to see that. It'll be in this room at 7:15. Bring your friends. If you have anyone in your life that you would love to have meet an incredibly powerful woman who's had her dreams and desires become fulfilled and is making a difference on this planet, come for that. Or if you'd like to just be in community with those who appreciate that, come on Wednesday night. If you just want to be in community and be in this room, come for that. And if you want to see a documentary, an award-winning documentary that will not only touch your heart in a deep way, but show you that there are people out there that is superseding what our government is not doing relative to arts in the education world and making a difference in children's lives in a way that is everything that this teaching is all about. And so it's really about not only seeing what Dream a World looks like, but what it looks like when someone steps in consciously to do the work to not only have their dreams come true, but to support many other people's dreams coming true too. It's wonderful. And I personally am very proud of her, and I also have seen the documentary, and it's worth taking the time on Wednesday night to do that. The next Sunday morning, Rabbi Denise Egger, the rabbi, yes? No. No, you don't have to sign anything. You don't have to just show up. We'll have room for everyone. And there will be refreshments, which I know that entices some. Refreshments here as well. And yeah, I'm going to just, if you have any other questions, let Dr. Sheila or I know. Would love to see all of you here if at all possible. Next Sunday morning, we've got a very special guest here, Rabbi Denise Eger, who is the rabbi here at Congregation Kol Ami, is our guest speaker. And I'm really looking forward to having her here next Sunday morning. She's also, much like Bunny, a very accomplished woman in her own right. And she was the head of the Reformed rabbis across the United States, just recently stepped down from that position. The first woman to ever do that. She is groundbreaking both in her accomplishments and her life, but also who she is as a being. She was just featured in the documentary called A Long Road to Freedom, which was celebrating the 50 years of The Advocate, the magazine. And so make sure if you have any way to be here next Sunday morning, come here, not only support our community in inviting in guest speakers, but supporting Rabbi Denise in her sharing her wisdom. Also want to let you know that there's a handout for the noble folk, which is those that are 55 and over that would like to come together in a fun way to have some fun together and grow together. That's the last Thursday of the month here from 10:30 to 12. The Sova food drive is still taking place. I invite you to support Congregation Kol Ami's annual summer Sova food drive. It's where we partner with them as they're partnering with the Jewish Family Services of Los Angeles and providing resources to individuals who are in need of food as well as personal hygiene products. They're most frequently in need of canned meat, tuna, and peanut butter. So if you could bring some of that, we'll send out an announcement to remind you that that's going on through August. Other things that's taking place here Wednesday morning, we may or may not have the guided meditation. The reason I say may not, because typically I use my MacBook and it is being exchanged for a new one because of it's not living very gracefully. Let's just leave it at that. So it may happen, it may not. So we can plan on it unless you hear otherwise from me. All right? But if for some reason Wednesday morning you go to log in and I'm not there, that's probably because I don't have the physical tools to do that. Continue to support our social media pages, Facebook and Instagram. That's all greatly appreciated. And this Friday morning, the Spirit of Dance class resumes after our beloved instructors have had a fabulous vacation away. So bring your groove to the Hollywood Dance Center from 11:30 to usually 12:45, and know that unlike my CrossFit class, you'll leave there inspired and not emptier than before. You will be filled up. All right? I think that's it. A huge thank you to our musicians this morning. So James Harper, thank you. A big thank you to your Ron Spiewak, as always. And it's been a real wonderful joy to have you in the house, Doron Ben Ami. I've heard about you, and I've been waiting for you to get here. So great to have you here. A big thank you to Jody this morning for a beautiful meditation and spiritual mind treatment. And to Sherry Bazanis for illuminating unlike any other. We appreciate that. Let's take a moment. Jesus, can you stand and come forward, please? Stand and come forward. Let's acknowledge Jesus Ernesto Ruiz you come forward. Don't be shy. This man works super, super hard in getting this place ready for everyone on a Sunday morning and doing the sound. He's not a professional sound technician, and yet he's so dedicated. And this morning he was phoning with Bob, who's away with his mother. We're working really hard. So a big thank you to them. A big thank you to each of you for coming here today. It was a lot of work for us to get set up for you guys here today, and we all knew it was the right thing to do, and I appreciate you showing up and filling the seats that I so eagerly placed for you today, and thank you for being a part of this community as we grow together. And so with that, know that there are flour products for you to chew on. Some have sugar on it, some don't. There's fruit, and there's other stuff that others brought in that may or may not have flour or gluten in it. They'll tell you, I'm sure, they tell me every Sunday. And enjoy that along with the tea and the coffee and the water. And let's close with the spiritual mind treatment. And so let's know that as we hear the beautiful sounds of angels speaking to us today, that those sounds are indeed an angel speaking to us today. the angel of the life of the beloved Miriam Nelson as she's moved on to join others on the other side. Let's take a moment and feel gratitude for the lives that she touched with her heart, with her talent, with her beauty, and most importantly, with that beautiful smile that she was always showing, that's exemplified in this photo here today. And let's let the voice of the angel that we hear in the room this morning and the voice of the angel who has moved on be a reminder to us to cherish life itself. For it's a gift. And the second greatest gift that we've been told is choice. And so let's each choose today to tap into our desires in a new way, to live as grace in a new way, to revere the power that exists within us, and to call that divine urge within us out more and more and more and more, ultimately illuminating this beautiful world that we live in as we both give and receive the light of others, which we know deep within our soul is the same light, for there's only one light, and it shines right now. We let it be as we say together. Amen, and so it is. Thank you. See you outside and throughout the week. Gentlemen, take us out, please.